Today we're talking about the best blood pressure for adults 60 and older. Most people think that blood pressure is black and white. There's either a normal number and a high number. But here's the truth. Blood pressure is one of the most personal numbers in all of medicine. And two people with the same number can have completely different risks. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the ideal personalized targets for blood pressure in older adults, what the major blood pressure studies actually mean for your body, and the exact framework that I use for my own patients to set a safe, customized blood pressure goal. Let's start with the biggest misconception. Biggest misconception about BP, about blood pressure. There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all blood pressure target. Yes, the definitions and guidelines technically stay the same for everyone going from normal all the way up to stage 2 hypertension. But these numbers only tell you what category your numbers fall into. They don't actually tell you whether the number is safe for you, whether your brain is getting enough blood, whether your kidneys can handle your medications, or whether lowering your own blood pressure is either helpful or potentially hurtful. That depends entirely on how stiff your arteries are. If you're having symptoms like dizziness, brain fog, or fatigue, your fall risk, the number of medications you're taking, your kidney function, cognitive health, activity level, and how your body responds to specific treatments. This is why one person can look perfect with a blood pressure of 118/72, whereas someone else at that number may be feeling awful with dizziness, fatigue, and feeling like they're going to pass out. Now, this begs the question, how do you know? How do you know your own personal ideal BP? The data. Which category that you specifically fall into and what your own personal ideal blood pressure should be? There are two major studies involving older adults and blood pressure that give us a clue, but only if you read the fine print. Let me explain. There was a trial done back in 2015 called the SPRINT trial, and it studied 9,161 adults over the age of 50 with an average age of 68. They compared two blood pressure targets. There is an intensive group with an ideal blood pressure target of less than 120 systolic, and a standard group with a blood pressure target of less than 140 systolic. What the researchers found is that the intensive group, or the group trying to get a less than 120 systolic blood pressure on average, had fewer heart attacks, strokes, and cardiovascular deaths. This means that we should all strive to have a systolic blood pressure less than 120, right? Well, that's not quite accurate. That same group also had more dizziness, passing out, electrolyte issues, kidney problems, and falls. So with this target range, you're not necessarily getting heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular-related issues, but your blood pressure may be so low that you're feeling dizzy and actually pass out, potentially hitting your head and causing a fatal brain bleed. You see where I'm kind of going with this? Now, here's the part that almost nobody talks about within the SPRINT trial itself. The trial excluded a ton of real-world patients and did not include anyone with diabetes, anyone with a prior stroke, anyone with dementia, anyone with advanced kidney disease, and anyone with severe frailty. In other words, the SPRINT trial was testing a target blood pressure of less than 120 only in strong, resilient, active older adults, not necessarily the general population. Coupled with the SPRINT trial, there was a STEP trial done in China in 2021. This trial enrolled a total of 8,511 adults aged 60 to 80 years old. And the study design was essentially repeating that of the SPRINT trial done in 2015 with an intensive target range for blood pressure of less than 120 and a standard target of less than 140. And the results are not shocking, of course. There were fewer heart problems, heart attacks, and strokes in the lower blood pressure group, but again, more side effects like dizziness, kidney strain, and passing out. So what are these two trials? What do the trials mean for you? Actually mean for you? Well, if you're 60 plus and walking regularly, you're highly independent, your cognition is good, you don't have kidney problems, and you're not on too many medications, you might benefit from a target blood pressure goal of less than 120 systolic. But if you're 60 plus with multiple medical conditions, you're on 4 or more medications, your kidneys aren't the best, you get dizzy, and you may fall here or there. Chasing 120 is too aggressive, and in fact, it may be dangerous. So how do you know if your own specific target is too low for your body? Well, there are very specific warning signs that your body gives you indicating that your blood pressure is too low. And if you have any one of these, it's time to back off the medications. If you're having severe lightheadedness when standing up, almost like you're going to pass out, dizziness in the morning, brain fog, fatigue, you're feeling unsteady, you have cramps or electrolyte issues, or your blood pressure regularly dips below 100, what is your personal ideal BP target? Systolic. If any of these things are happening to you, it's your body saying, "This is too low for me." Low blood pressure is great, but not at the expense of your own physiology. This begs the million-dollar question, and something you may be asking yourself right now. What is my ideal blood pressure target? Well, here's the exact framework that I use for about 95% of all my patients. If you're 60 to 79 years old, you're active, independent, and not really having any chronic conditions, aim for less than 130/80. If you're 60 to 79 with dizziness, frailty, multiple medical conditions, or multiple medications, aim for less than 140/90. And if you're 80 plus, you want to aim for about 130 to 150 systolic, depending on symptoms. If you can tolerate 120 or lower without any side effects, it might offer extra cardiovascular protection, but only if you feel good. This explains why two people with the exact same blood pressure readings may need completely different treatment plans. And honestly, it parses out the nuances of blood pressure management. It's not as simple as just following guidelines, because we're treating a person, not just a number. Now, if you found this video BP Reset Guide helpful and you want to dive deeper into a tailored blood pressure plan that's specific for you and the absolute best way to lower blood pressure naturally, I put together a 49-page document that I call my Blood Pressure Reset Guide that has everything you'd ever need, from specific meal plans to proper exercises and even evidence-based supplements, all designed and targeted to lower blood pressure naturally. Early. If you want to check it out, I'll put a link to it in the description below. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. This is from the book of Psalm chapter 46, verse 1. Now, figuring out your ideal target for blood pressure is very important for managing it long term, but it's only one piece of the blood pressure puzzle. You have to make sure you're actually getting the proper blood pressure readings at home. And to do that, you're going to want to avoid the top 10 most common mistakes that I see my patients make literally all the time. And you can check that out in this video, right?